Though brief, my time with Overwatch was enjoyable. A few months into the Activision Blizzard affair, however, ended with enough of my friends dropping it for me to follow suit. I think it was a month or two past Anna's edition, so about 3 or 4 months of on again, off again playtime before a hiatus possessed me so completely I have yet to play the game since. This, of course, was on the tail end of a nearly 5 year long love affair with Valve's sordid assortment of asymmetrical allies known as Team Fortress 2. Recently, though, around the middle of 2018, I learned something that shook me to the very core. Overwatch had voice chat. In all my time of playing, I had been completely oblivious to this. No one typing in the game ever mentioned it, and none of the dozens or more people I played with mentioned it to me personally. Yes, there was a chat feature, all right, hidden behind a secondary menu, waiting for activation. Long gone seemed the frenetic days of all talk. In fact, so long gone that I had wrongfully assumed the game simply cut voice chat entirely to avoid any sort of unwanted social interactions. It made sense to me in a way. After all, there were a multitude of supplemental voice communication methods to offset the perceived removal, so really it wasn't that big a deal to me personally. So pessimistic was I about the attitude companies had towards player interaction that I simply assumed the worst of them. Ah well, you live and you learn. And for what it's worth, I certainly don't blame the company. I'm quite obviously the one most to blame in the whole silly circumstance, though it's not really blame I'm interested in. Least of all because changing the topic to something else basically exonerates me of the crime. Before we continue, though, I believe it's important to note that this minorly misanthropic misunderstanding makes its way to my mind on a myriad of moments. To put it in a less obtuse manner, I tell this story a lot. Why is that, though? I suppose on some level there's regret at play. I likely would have given the game much more leeway had I been able to communicate with my teammates. But I believe more important than that is I can't help but focus on the utter inability to meet new people in the game because of this particular oversight. The loss of hypothetical acquaintances and friends is something I find rather fascinating and somber. Enough so that I figure it might be worth getting out in the open so I can explore the idea and get lots of attention on YouTube to feed my lust for views. Oh, yeah!
Holy shit. That was great.
It knocked me off the tracks.
I was just standing right next to it. It only did 70 damage.
Panhandling for free promotion aside, I want to see what I can work with here, and perhaps exercise some regret demons in the process. Tallying up the friends I've met online versus offline, the former wins out in raw numbers quite readily. And I think that sort of thing proves true for a large number of millennials and zoomers alike. And of course, of those friends I've met online, up to half or more were met through video games. Even more if you count those that were introduced to me through those friends who were met through video games. Topping it off, these particular online friends are the ones I spend the most time with hanging out online from day to day. Assuming these sorts of online friendships prove to be a similarly dominant force in many millennials and zoomers' lives, a safe assumption to make, I'd wager, then I think it's important that we consider these sorts of relationships and the way by which they form to be quite important. For a long while, I operated under the assumption that the disregard from older generations towards these sorts of friendships did not affect me. But lately I'm beginning to think that the irony and surface-level meme-based discussions are a side effect of this elder generational ire. We don't take these friendships as seriously as I'm beginning to think they are. Maybe it's the aforementioned narcissism speaking, but we're the first. We're in the process of laying a foundation for how these relationships work. Assuming civilization lasts 50, 100, 1,000 years or more into the future, we're the early adopters to relationships that literally could not manifest in the way that they do these days. We're the generation that gets to decide how important they are, how serious we are about them. To be honest, this has become a bit of a ramble. First of many, or maybe the only one of its kind. To bring it back to the start, though, I think we should start trying to be a little more talkative online. This even means on Overwatch. What's more important right now, though, is the return to all talk between and around the halves of Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Gabe, right now, we're limited to talking shit through a communication method that's arguably as dated as the printing press. Let me jump. Let me leap into the burden of spoken word, Gabe. I accept the risk of toxicity inherent in all social interactions. Oh, Gabe, for civilization's sake, let us speak once more. I mean, at least make it an option of some sort like Overwatch and make sure I know about it. And while I'm at it, add local voice to Fortnite. Alright.
Oh shit!
Solution time! Oh, I thought that would have blown up. Bit of a dud. Oh! Well... What was that?
What a catastrophic explosion.